Welcome back to StoryChief's SEO Fundamentals for Writers training course. Now it's time to take a look at what some of those specific ranking factors are, and we're going to learn about the impact you can have on these different ranking factors as a writer. At the end of this video, I am going to give you your first homework assignments, some very simple and quick tests you can run to see how your website stacks up right now in terms of SEO. Let's begin. In my last video, I mentioned that Google has over 200 different ranking factors it uses to grade content. And these factors can largely be separated into three groups. You have technical SEO, off-page SEO, and on-page SEO. For writers and content creators, that last category is definitely where you're going to have the most influence and impact. But it's important to understand how all three types of SEO work together, because you really do need all three if you want to succeed at search engine optimization. Let's start with technical SEO. Technical SEO is all about your website's performance. The ranking factors in this category have to do with how user-friendly your website is and how easy it is for Google and users to navigate your website. Most users will close out a website if it takes more than a few seconds to load, and Google knows this. So if your website loads really slowly, or if the buttons and other clickable elements on your site jump around as it's loading, it's going to be really difficult for you to get any SEO off the ground until those problems are cleared up. When I run SEO audits for my clients, the site speed and functionality is the very first thing I check, and at the end of this chapter, I'm going to show you how to check this today in just a few minutes. In addition to speed, technical SEO is concerned with site structure. Google likes websites that are really neat and organized. Here's an example of how many websites are laid out. You have a home page, and from there you might branch out into services pages and a blog page and an About Us section. And each of those pages will then branch out into different specific services or blog categories and topics and so on. A solid, organized structure like this is easy for Google and users to understand. But if your website isn't laid out logically, or you have lots of broken pages and pages that don't link to each other, Google's going to be less likely to recommend your site when it comes to search. Fixing these technical errors is really important for SEO success, and if you have some experience as a web developer, you know how to use WordPress or whatever CMS you're working in, you can probably clear up some of these problems on your own. But bear in mind that businesses who are getting serious about SEO often hire an SEO specialist to audit their website and help them diagnose and clear up these errors. It's something I offer for my clients, so if you need help with this, feel free to visit my website, inkwellcontent.com, and pay me a visit, send me a note. Off-page SEO has to do with what's known as backlinks. These are the number of links you have pointing to your website from other websites on the internet. Why does Google care about how many links are pointing to your website from other websites? Well, in Google's eyes, backlinks are like a reference on a resume. It's one website's way of saying, I trust this other website. But not all backlinks are created equal. You want links pointing to your website from reputable, authoritative websites that are related to what you do in your industry. For example, if you run an online sportswear company, it would be great to get links from really good fitness blogs, and if you can swing it, companies like Nike and Lululemon and Under Armour. On the flip side, you really don't want links pointing to your website from spammy websites or websites that have nothing to do with what you do. The more links you have pointing to your website, the more Google will start to see your website as authoritative and trustworthy, and that's really good for SEO. But getting backlinks is notoriously one of the most challenging parts of SEO, and writers have a big part to play in this. If you create a lot of really high quality content for your website and you promote that content, it's really likely that people are going to start linking to it, and that's going to boost your SEO overall. Speaking of creating content, let's talk about the final category of SEO, what's known as on-page SEO. On-page SEO has to do with all of the words and images and design on your website, and this is the area where content creators and writers really can have an enormous impact. Google's algorithm relies on text to figure out what a website is all about. So whenever you add text to your website, whether that's a landing page or a new blog or even a caption on a photo, you are giving search engines like Google more information about what you do and who you target and who your audience is. The topics you discuss on your site, the words you choose, the design and layout of the content you create, all of that has a major impact on how visible your website is going to be in search. In the next few parts of this training course, I'm going to show you exactly how you can use data from Google to discover what topics matter to your audience and how you can structure and design your content for SEO success. But for now, let's review some of the important vocabulary terms that we covered in this chapter. And after that, I've got a couple small homework assignments that are going to help you learn more about how your website is performing in terms of SEO right now. In this chapter, we learned about the three major types of SEO and the different ranking factors within each one. We learned that technical SEO has to do with the user experience and structure of your website, which includes things like site speed and how your website and web pages are organized. Off-page SEO deals with the links pointing to your website from other sites online, and we learned that the more reputable links you have pointing to your website, the more your site has authority in Google's eyes, which is, again, great for SEO. Finally, we touched on on-page SEO, which refers to all of the ranking factors that relate to the content you create for your website. There's a lot more coming on this section in upcoming chapters of this video training course. Okay, let's get into your homework assignments. As a content creator, you're mostly going to be focusing on on-page SEO, but it's a really good idea to just get a general temperature check for both technical SEO and off-page SEO as it stands right now on your website. So I've got a couple tools here that you can use to do this in just a few minutes, and it's completely free. The first one is called Page Speed Insights, and this is actually a tool created by Google. And the goal is to help you check the speed and functionality of your website. So all you have to do is put your URL here and hit go. You'll get a nice report back that gives you a score, and it also explains what technical issues might be standing in your way right now. Now, fair warning, these recommendations can be pretty technical, so you may want to show it to the developer who built your site, or you might want to call in an SEO expert like me to help you diagnose these problems and start to fix them. This next tool comes from Moz. You're definitely going to come across this name again. They're one of the big players in the SEO space, and they have lots of great free tools, including this one. This one will analyze your website and give you what's known as a domain authority score. That basically tells you how authoritative your website is based on the number of reputable backlinks you have coming from other websites. Now, it's important to know that these numbers are not from Google. They're just an estimate, and so you should really be taking them with a grain of salt. But what I like about this tool is that you also get to see which pages on your website are bringing in the most links and where those links are coming from. It's just a way to get a really good idea of how many links you have coming to your website right now and where you might be able to get links in the future. Okay, that's all for your homework. When you're done with that, let's move on to the next video where we're going to talk more about some of those ranking factors for on-page SEO that you can use as a writer to start climbing up the ranks.